Welcome in to the latest episode of Bet and Pitch. I'm your host, the real_G Warner, on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This episode will be covering the Copa America Matchday 1. Missed the first two matches. Been trying to find ways to fit this podcast into the schedule, but figured I could do this a little bit differently, as most of the time I don't do it with lineups in front of me. Maybe besides like a Friday Bundesliga episode during the, I guess, regular league season in the top five European soccer leagues. What we're going to do here today is cover the rest of match day one. We only missed two matches, so not too big of a deal. And then come out with the ultimate best bet, which I will chop into a reel to put on Instagram at the real_G Warner, and to a short on YouTube at the real_G Warner. If you're not following me or subscribed there, go do so. And if you could leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, it would be huge for the search rankings. So I'll just get into it now. Match starts in 45 minutes. This would be match day three, or I guess day three of the tournament. But we'll start with Ecuador and Venezuela. This match is taking place in California. I don't know really that there's a lot of location that matters here. To me, in this tournament, Argentina is going to have home field advantage. And I will probably bake that into my pricing, plus Brazil, just because they're awesome and have a huge fan base. Plus, I think you probably deserve it for obviously the United States, and I think probably Mexico would have the biggest advantage of all. Mexico, I'll talk about it in a few minutes. But this Ecuador-Venezuela match is really interesting to me because Ecuador were more likely or priced in a way they're more likely to win this Copa America than Mexico, but we're an underdog in the group with Mexico, which is surprising to me. But this is a all Group B affair today. And we'll start with Ecuador, Venezuela, like I said, in Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, where the 49ers play American football. So Ecuador, half a goal favorite right now, more juice on the Venezuelan side. Over under here is 2, juice very heavily to under. And I think that's a reflection on what we saw last night in Dallas, just down the street, or in Arlington, not too far away from where I'm recording today, on June 22nd. We saw no offense, 37 fouls, I think that was the total. And Chile, as a small but I guess decent sized favorite, as an eventual point when it closed, probably between a quarter and a half of a goal favorite. Really didn't do anything besides missing a big chance with their talisman and most famous player, Alexis Sanchez. I feel like that. Initially, I think the first opener game, Argentina and Canada, honestly was a surprise to me that the total was so low, but it was very hard to see any sort of offense in that matchup. Then absolutely no goals scored, 2-0 in the first by Argentina, 0-0 goalless. My favorite as an underdog and under better, but still a pretty ugly matchup there. Now we have Ecuador and Venezuela, two CONMEBOL teams, which this Copa America is basically a South American tournament that has moved to the United States to grab some cash. They put it in football stadiums. At least there's real grass, normal situations in San Francisco. So maybe the ball will roll a little bit better than these football stadiums that have AstroTurf, that they just rolled in real grass into. I think basically because Messi said he wasn't going to use or play on them. But Ecuador, I mean, they are seen as a better team, but I don't really see why. Half a goal favorite feels too big to me. I think Ecuador is basically built on a defensive structure, and they've got good defenders from big teams across Europe, but I don't know that they have a lot of attacking ability. Enter Valencia just seems to never, I guess, leave the team. He's their striker, captain, leader, all those sort of things, but I just don't really see much from him. I guess since we have lineups in front of me, I might as well look at that and try to reference that if I could find this tab wherever it is. I guess that's my general problem with keeping my computer up to date. But on the Venezuelan side, I think my take on Venezuela is they've played very, very well in CONMEBOL qualifying. They were basically, I think, finished bottom in World Cup qualifying. Maybe that was due to economic reasons and financials and issues with paying their players, which certainly can limit motivation. But they played to start off this new campaign for 2026. They played very well. And there's some decent names in the Venezuelan side. They also have big names coming back to play for them, like Darwin Machis, who is not playing for the international or for the national team, and I can't explain why. We've seen Rondon score a bunch of goals for Everton in the past. It's a little bit since then, but Yangel Herrera, who had a really great season with Girona as well. I think there's a lot of talent that would probably, I think it explains why Venezuela played so well to start CONMEBOL qualifying. Of course, it's not the same thing. We've seen dominant qualifiers for the Euro 2024 in Europe not really do so well against the big teams in that competition. But to me, there isn't a big dominant force here, unless you're talking about Argentina and Brazil, which Brazil is a little bit going on a limb because there's not a lot of faith in them based on how poorly they played in CONMEBOL. But I think that they will fix that, is my guess. But back to this matchup, starts in 40 minutes. My biggest interests are in under and in Venezuela getting a half of a goal. I feel like I'm betting that there's going to be no goals in this competition until I'm proven otherwise. Argentina barely scoring two against Canada in the opener was a big, big surprise. But I think there's even less to expect here from Ecuador. I think they should probably be a quarter goal favorite. And since they're not, I'll be playing Venezuela plus a half of a goal and under two for this Copa America Saturday. Nightcap, I guess, continue this Copa America Saturday. We have Mexico and Jamaica. Mexico, I'll be making them a favorite in every stadium across this country, so it doesn't really matter where it's being played. Mexico, a goal and a quarter favorite. Jamaica, with all the juice right now, over under is 2.5, juiced all the way to over. We've seen some, I think, flexibility or where this number has moved. It's been climbing ever since I've been tracking it. Jamaica initially a 3/4 goal underdog, now all the way up to 1.25. It's a pretty big move, and I probably need to update my spreadsheet while I'm talking about it. But the Jamaicans, they're an interesting case because I feel like they were better before they ended up getting all these kind of Premier League rejects that wanted to play for England and couldn't and just never got taken. So they got some big names, some hype surrounding Mikel Antonio and Leon Bailey, who's awesome. And I don't mean to slight him, but the others, I think there's plenty of room to slight. And I feel like Jamaica's been just really poor ever since then. They were, I think, known as a really good defensive side. That's kind of gone out the window. And then the Mexican side is the one in transition. It's really hard to know what to expect from Mexico and the United States because they haven't been playing any real matches because they're qualified as hosts for 2026 along with Canada. Somehow getting to play making three teams host, so they're all guaranteed into this expanded World Cup format, whatever. But the Jamaicans, I think the question is how well can they defend, which there are questions about that, but then it's also really how well can Mexico score. I think it's by my expectation is Jamaica will set up defensively and try to use their big talent and pace on a counterattack. I don't think that Mexico will be too threatened by that. And I think Mexico will struggle to score goals. So surprise, surprise, I'm interested also in under 2.5 in that matchup. And that will be the nightcap tonight on Saturday. Moving next to the United States and Bolivia. This is the early match of two on Sunday, June 23rd. We'll start with the United States. They're a 2-goal favorite at present. Let me make sure that I had that down before. And it seems like a lot of money has been hitting. They are facing a Bolivian side who are probably one of the worst, or actually are the worst in CONMEBOL, I would suspect, though Venezuela were the bottom feeders in the last World Cup qualification. Anyway, United States, a 2-goal favorite, is gigantic. I love the push on two. I don't know if I really want to get too involved in that or invest in that. I probably, if you're playing Bolivia +2, you probably want to play Bolivia under 3 because you're less likely to a 3-0 loss, you're pushing, as we saw with Turkey today in a horrible match with one of the worst own goals hopefully we'll see in this entire summer and maybe my lifetime. But I think the United States have big, big problems. I don't know that Bolivia are a team that can take advantage of that. My question is, how many goals can the United States score? I don't believe they can score a lot of them. So it makes them not a great favorite and makes the under also very valuable in that one as well. Last on Sunday is Uruguay and Panama. Uruguay, a 1.5-goal favorite right now. Looks like that hasn't moved too much in terms of the spread. Total is 2.75. Actually, it's dropped to 2.5, but it is a very plus money 2.5. So I'll still keep that 2.75 as a little bit more juiced as the actual number that's out there. All ins courtesy of BetOnline SportsBetting.ag. If you don't have an account at either of those places, go follow the link in the podcast description, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or on YouTube, and get some free money for your first time deposit. Uruguay are favored to win the group with the United States, but I haven't really believed. I mean, they've gotten a lot of respect in the CONMEBOL qualifying numbers. I don't really believe that they deserve that based on an aged team that kind of is in transition to figure out some new scores. I think that's kind of the theme for a lot of this event, and that's why I like under so much. In general, I do, but also because I just don't know where goals come from in this entire tournament. Panama, I like their chances of qualifying as that like extra CONCACAF team in the World Cup. I thought they were playing really well. Kind of looked like they'd taken the mantle from Costa Rica, who seemed like they're kind of aged and kind of out or falling back. I think Panama are a live underdog here, and as I said, I'm going to be going through this tournament not expecting many goals, so I like under in it as well. Moving to Monday, we have Colombia y Paraguay. Colombia, a three-quarter goal favorite right now with almost all the juice. Over under is 2.5 and juice, or 2.25, and it's juiced very heavily to under as well. Colombia have had an awesome unbeaten run and have played well pretty much anywhere you could ask them to. How long does that, or will that continue? That's a big question. But they certainly smashed the United States on the road, and that was a great showing for kind of what they're trying to do. As I look to find where the heck I put this number. Where the heck did I put this? Okay, yes, Paraguay. So this number has moved. A little bit of Colombian money has hit, not too much to speak of. Unders pretty much stayed the same place. I think under 2.25 is my biggest interest in this one, just because I don't really think that Colombia, despite their unbeaten run and great performances, I don't really think that's like a good, that's because they've been awesome. I feel like their defense has been good. They've been struggling to score goals for years now. That's why I didn't qualify for the last World Cup. But Paraguay are pretty much Miguel Almiron, and that's about it. The rest of their players are pretty limited. And I don't really see many goals coming from Paraguay as well. Nightcap on Monday, and that will wrap up our match day one. Is Brazil hosting Costa Rica? Currently, Brazil a 2.25 goal favorite. I guess they're not hosting, but I guess, potentially giving them some home field advantage. 2.25 goal favorite to a Costa Rican side that is way past their golden generation, if you call it that. Los Ticos are trying to figure out kind of who they are going forward. Over under here is 3.25. It choose pretty heavily to under. Brazil's got a lot of questions. They've been really struggling and have been really bad in CONMEBOL qualifying as well. Ronaldinho came out and saying how horrible they were, but I think they're going to have a very good tournament here. I don't think Costa Rica will prove much, but the biggest, I think, threat to any sort of under in this tournament, at least in match day one, it's really the Brazilians and how many goals they can score. I think Costa Rica are going to try to defend like crazy. I just don't know if I trust them well enough to do so. So this might be the only match I don't really have an underlean on, I gotta say. And then that probably is a brief way, but enough to get through this first episode or whatever of match day one in the Copa America. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out. Patreon.com/real_G Warner, the best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything across all sports, including baseball, and these many tournaments, Euro and Copa America. I think besides that, still doing podcasts for Major League Baseball with my good friend at A Brooks Bets. We're coming to you every Tuesday night for Wednesday card. We're also doing, of course, every Sunday and Thursday with Munaf Manji on pregame.com. Still have an NFL like futures episode plus expectations episode. All those sort of things are planned or in the books. We'll see if they end up happening. But I think it's time to get into Ultimate Best Bet. I can get out of here and we can find some way to make some more money going down this Copa America stretch. So I think it's probably, is it time to get into it? I think it probably is. Unless there's anything else I need to cover, just running through the possibilities that I might need. Yeah, let's get into it. Hey, this is real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the Ultimate Best Bet, the 1-minute portion of Betting Pitch podcast, which generally goes an hour, usually something like that. But going through each match day for the Euro, also for Copa America, for all the summer international tournaments, coming out with a best bet you can grade me on for each of the cycles. And this is the Copa America Best Bet coming to you live on June 22nd with only a few minutes until I think Venezuela and Ecuador kick off. But if you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out. Patreon.com/real_G Warner. Best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups across these competitions. The Euro, Copa America, also some Spanish League Two qualifications or Segunda División, plus plenty of baseball stuff on there as well. And for my best bet on this episode, I'm going to go with that United States-Bolivia under 3 goals. I'm not a believer in Bolivia really putting up much of a fight, but I think the United States offense is very limited, and we will find how weak those players are on a much bigger stage. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. I will talk to you all very soon. Have a great evening, great weekend, and I will chat later.